Well, hello, friends. It's another Chords and Coffee, and today we have Micah Craft with us. Micah plays with Elevation Church along with country artist Kyle Kelly. And what's really cool about Micah, he's also a painter. And so I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes, and especially in the realm of creativity. But Micah, thanks for being here, man. Glad to
Hey,
have
yeah,
you.
thanks for having me. I've also got my coffee, so yeah, cheers.
Hey, there you go. I need to get you one of these.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cooler than the one I have, but
Just tell me about how you got started playing guitar, how long you've been playing guitar, and just, you know, what that looks like in your life.
yeah, for sure. So I've got my first guitar probably it was about 20 years ago. I'm 36 and I got it when I was 16. So yeah, it was 20 years ago. And I think I got it as like a Christmas gift. I had just a very, like surface level kind of curiosity, about music or music and guitar really, because I grew up in church and you know there was a church band every Sunday, and so I kind of just became interested a little bit in music and like making music, and having my own instrument to do so. And so yeah, I got my first guitar when I was 16, and really I didn't do much with it. I can't remember exactly kind of what the issue was, but I just wasn't that interested until a couple of years later. So the church that we were part of also was like a private school, and so we went to the private school, and they had like a chapel on one of the days, and my brother had kind of picked up drums, and so I was like, okay, this is cool. We could play in chapel together, and so yeah, the first few songs that I started learning were really like worship songs, like church songs. It's they're more contemporary, like worship style songs. It's not like um not necessarily hymns or anything, or gospel or southern gospel. It's kind of more of the contemporary kind of worship song. So that's how I got started playing guitar. But it wasn't soon after that I found, people like Stevie Ray Vaughan, the people that just kind of ruin us in a good way for for guitar and for the Stratocaster for sure. That was my first S style guitar, was a Strat. So yeah, it's coming up in growing up with a guitar, or not really growing up, but developing a taste for SRV, and then blues style music, and also learning songs for chapel. Was kind of Those are kind of two different like discipline areas, but yeah, it was kind of fun and interesting doing both of them at the same time. So it kept me curious and kept me disciplined. And I was playing in a band too, so playing with other people is kind of the best part.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's funny. So do you have how many brothers and siblings or sisters and that sort of thing do you have? How big is your
Yeah.
family? Do they all play?
Um, so I'm the oldest of four. I have my next youngest brother who is 2 years younger. He was the drummer, and then I have a sister and a youngest. The youngest brother is like about 9 years younger than me. But he doesn't. The youngest two don't do music. It's just me and my brother. So yeah, I guess my brother kind of started more of, he was the one to try to start playing any instrument, because my mom played the piano, but it was kind of casually. So my brother was the first one to kind of inspire me to pick up an instrument. So
That's cool. So I'm the oldest of three boys, and my middle brother plays drums, and my youngest brother plays bass. And like you, now there's a significant age gap because I'm 7 years older than Josh, the middle brother, and then 9 years older than John. But we've played music together, and there was a time in our life where we were all playing in church together. And looking back on it, that was like a huge. I mean, that was a blessing on a multiple,
yeah,
lots of levels.
yeah,
But that was also a huge growth period for us because at that time, you come in and you might have to learn a song that night to play it in
yeah.
front of people that night, and
Oh yeah,
especially in the kind of church we were in, we weren't going to play it from top to bottom. We were going to like repeat the chorus or go back to the bridge or do a breakdown, and just there was going to
yeah,
be some built-in spontaneity, and so
yeah.
you know just as an encouragement to any parents that are watching this now that have a kid that they're like, man, I wish, and because by the way, I've got two boys and I really hope my sons get into music, and obviously it's around. My
Yeah.
wife is a great singer and an artist. And I want to talk about your art in just a second, but it's just an interesting point, and I want to encourage anybody watching this. If you've got kids that are not into music, you just said it, and I've seen this even in now. Once I got bit by the guitar bug, I was hooked. But like for example, my youngest brother John, he took a little more coaxing to get into it, but because of the church thing, and we were doing it so regularly, it sort of opened a doorway. And I'm hearing that's how it happened for you too. You sort of realize, hey, wait a minute, I might actually not only be good at this, but I'm actually might like it. Right.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think another thing I've been thinking about recently is like, I mean, it is true. A lot of church music is simple. It doesn't require you to, um, be able to take a solo in the same way that you would in rock or blues or country or anything like that. But I think a big benefit for me being a part of church early on was like learning discipline and like self-control, in what you play. Because I mean, I would play chapel, and then every night of the week I would be trying to learn an SRB solo. And so that was kind of something I couldn't really apply directly in church, or I mean, at least I couldn't do it then tastefully at all. But I mean, just kind of learning, like, just discipline and self-control around what you play, and finding how to be creative but be minimal in a way is, that's a good thing to learn early on. And also just playing with other people and playing to a metronome, that kind of stuff that's something really valuable that I kind of looking back now, I'm kind of really glad that I got started. Like one of the first bands I was a part of was church, for that reason too. And, church people most of the time are good people to be around. And the group we have was definitely encouraging in every other part of life and supportive in every other part of life, not just music. And so it was a tight friend group. And I mean, I still miss it, but we kind of all went our separate ways. But yeah, I mean, it's a great thing in a lot of ways. So
Yeah, it's so good to thrust yourself into situations like that. It's funny. I was having a conversation with one of our lesson teachers at the Springfield store, and we were I don't know how we got off on it. Oh, we were talking about shuffles, talking about playing shuffles, and I remember uh, my very first guitar teacher trying to teach me how to play Pride and Joy, and getting that. It's not just getting that, getting that right
yeah,
hand where you're kind of doing that pick sweep,
yeah,
doing that to where you have that feel of almost kind of being behind, but you're
yeah,
also aggressively attacking it, and you have to mute all the strings in your
yeah, yeah,
hand except for the one that you're playing that bass line. And
yeah.
he was struggling with communicating that to me. He ended up going and getting another guitar teacher that was in this music store that I was taking lessons at down in the Boot Hill in Missouri 1,000 years ago. And anyway, but that stuck with me, and was interesting with he had enough wherewithal to go get somebody else as opposed to giving up, because he's like, no, you're getting this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is one of the things I love about doing this, because like I'm hoping that there'll be some nuggets that will be, and there will be, that will be gleaned from these conversations that I
Yeah.
just couldn't come up with on my own. So
Yeah. That Pride and Joy, that was really hard to learn, but that was like stuff like that. And just the way Steve Ray Vaughan like attacked the strings and how he was aggressive and soft at different times, like all that kind of stuff really taught me like dynamics and, yeah, all that kind of stuff. I just remember, as far as like sounds, inspiring sounds that happened early on. I mean, hearing him play like on the neck pickup, that kind of stuff was just really like, I can't remember what song exactly, but it was something he was playing that really inspired me to get a better strat. And so
yeah,
I think
I
soon
hear
after.
that. For me, it was the first time hearing Lenny, which would have been probably position 4,
Yeah, yeah,
and then also hearing things like the way his guitar sounded on like just even like just on that Texas Flood record, that whole thing,
Yeah.
um, yeah, Stevie Ray. And so speaking of getting a better strat, one thing led to another. So how did you get hooked up with the LSL folks?
Yeah, it's kind of a unique story. I mean, I used to I've had a couple of Sirs. One was like a Strat and one was a Telly, and they were good guitars. I had the Sir for a while, and it was like a three pickup selector, I guess Nashville style Telly, and I really wasn't using the middle pickup, and I wanted something more simple and straightforward. And so I was just on Reverb, just looking for like, butterscotch, blackguard tellies, and I came across a used one on Reverb, and made the purchase. And when I got it, I mean, it was great. It was all the things that everyone wants. It felt good. It looked good. I'm really big on like the relic look because to me, I mean, I am a visual person, and so that kind of stuff it affects me the way it feels, not because I can feel the roughness of wherever it's relic, but just I don't know, just looking cool to me is pretty important.
Oh, looking cool goes a long way. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it. And what's funny, I do think the feel of it, like I know the relic thing can be a super hot issue with
yeah.
people. Like um I've heard it said, and I won't tell you the source from this because I love this guy, but I've heard it said that relic guitars are a guitar with a fake history. Now, I'll say this about that. One of the great cleansing thoughts that a person can have is just really a firm understanding of the brevity of life. And life is
Yeah,
too short to play a guitar
yeah.
that you don't love immediately, you
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah. That's
And I,
true.
yeah, and I like the way they feel. I mean, obviously that doesn't mean I like them all. There's some that you pick up and
Yeah,
they've kind of gone past the point of what I like anyway. And so
yeah, yeah.
I'm with you. I like a worn in guitar. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, 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 me too. And I mean, to me, I mean, a lot of the relic jobs, I mean, they kind of look like paintings to me. It's like, I mean, it takes creativity to be able to do that. And so I guess for me, that's kind of a small connection that I make, to the visual side because it's just there's so many more details, the aging, the details of the aging or whatever, or fake aging. It's not really aging, but yeah,
No,
it's
I
super.
get it. So you're a T-Bone guy, LSL T-Bone, is that right?
Yeah, I've got a T-bone, and I've got just recently got my custom HSS in, which is super cool. I'm loving that. It's got the flame roasted neck, which I'm a big fan of, and yeah, I mean the neck shape just it feels perfect for me. I never really liked the really chunky telly neck or anything, and I don't like them really thin either. But this one, I mean, it's great. I mean, I love everything about it. I love how it looks. It's my first like custom guitar, so it's gonna be with me forever.
That's cool.
I'm
Well,
not gonna put that in
congratulations on
rotation.
that. Yeah. Well, so I would love briefly, just you mentioned that you're a visual artist, that you're a painter. I would love to know, like, um, and you can go as far as down this rabbit hole as you want to go, but there's that thing that's called, is it synesthesia, where you like
Yeah,
associate
yeah,
color with the sound? I don't have that. I don't think anyway. I mean, I don't even know if there's a test for that sort of thing, but I definitely like, especially when like you listen to certain records, like there's older records that I love that were made like in the 70s, or like here's a great example that if you know this song, the old Herb Alpert song, "This Guy's in Love with You," you know that one? It's like one of the greatest.
um,
Well, I bet you would recognize it if you heard it, but
yeah.
it's one of the greatest pop songs of all time.
Okay.
And it's Burt Bacharach tune, right? He wrote it, and there's a color to that, like it's like this sort of golden sepia, maybe even like with some pink to like when I
Yeah,
when I when I hear that kind of sound, or even like when I listen to you know uh, Steely Dan records or Merle Haggard records. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
there's different colors, and I, just as a musician, and also, and I want to talk about this, and sort of leads into it, but this is really important framework. Um, you play in a couple, like you play in a country band, like you said, and you sort of set this up with, doing Stevie Ray stuff versus doing Sunday morning stuff, while it's all music and it's all the language of music, there's certainly different approaches and different, to use your word, discipline with both of those. Um, how does the like the visual art inform that? How does the painting sort of lead into that? And how do the painting and the guitar playing inspire one another?
I think first off, like my first interest in creative anything was really like visual. So like drawing, drawing was the first kind of love of mine, and then eventually I got into painting. And so um but like from the very beginning, it's always been a means of like self-expression. And so like the majority of everything that I've done painting has been like purely abstract, like non-representational, shapes, colors, lines, textures, those kind of elements. I mean, some people can look at it and say, oh, I see a face there or a mountain or whatever, but it's kind of as early as I can remember, painting was like self-expression. Even I still explore like certain words, like what does like color harmony mean? Like, what does that mean exactly? Or does it even matter to me? Am I a visual artist that is just more about the texture or the line or the process? I, yeah, I think the process of creating is pretty inspiring and important to me, because I mean, when I create music, the most fun really are the moments where it's your turn to take a solo and you don't really know what you're going to do, but you want to respond to all the other musicians and how you're feeling that night, so you can kind of create something there that is in some way unique to that moment and to the space, and unique to those around you and who you're playing with. So I hope that
No,
makes some sense.
no, it does, and you said a couple things that I definitely feel a kinship with you on this. Um, Ever since I picked up the guitar, I was 16 when I started too. And by the way, if you're 61 or 51 or whatever, and you're just getting started, now is the perfect time to start playing guitar. Would you agree with that, Micah?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
one of the things you said, though, that really resonated with me is that I've never been the person that, I mean, there's very few things I've learned note for note in terms of songs or solos. From the
Yeah.
moment I picked it up, it's like I wanted to be creative with it.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't realize this, but now at 47, I do, is that everything that makes good music is the same principles that makes good cooking or good art.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there is, if you're not tasting as you're cooking,
Yeah.
you don't know when to stop adding things, and if you're not, fully vested in the moment of that meal, it won't be as good as it could be,
Yeah.
and like music, that may not be the end of the world, but it just, at the end of our days, we look back and we just have all these moments and these memories, right? And so why
Yeah.
not make the best of the moment? And sometimes the best of that moment mandates tremendous discipline. But then other times, if you haven't invested time into learning what it is that you sound like or how to find your self expression, you won't know what that is, even if you stumble upon it. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think as guitar players, I love hearing you say this, is that oftentimes we spend so much of, well, I'll say it this way. The metric for success for a lot of guitar players, and I'm guilty of this too, is like, like you said, can you play this, or can you play this fast? Or are you able to, play like this person, or, this, that, and the other. And, we live in a time now where it's like, man, there's a bazillion guitar players. Even right now, we're making a video. There's a bazillion guitar players right now making a video and posting it online and
Yeah.
doing something incredible.
Yeah.
And that's great. However, I'm hoping that if you're watching this, that this conversation that Micah and I are having is encouraging you to find your individual expression. And that's not a bad thing, and it's something that if you don't invest time in, I mean, it's not like it's just going to find you, right? You have to find it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you said a lot of good things. I love the cooking analogy. That's a great one. But yeah, I mean, it's those same principles apply to everything. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard now too to value finding your own voice, because I mean, at least for me, I follow a ton of guitarists and they're all different, and it's like, I think it's good to like, learn different styles and everything. But I think what's really valuable and kind of what's going what's going to make you more attractive, I think, in the music world is really having your own voice and, having your own way. If that means, having your own voice and like your tone or your playing or your touch or, you know, all those kind of aspects go into having your own sound. Because I think a lot of people say having your own sound, and a lot of times, at least I've kind of been confused. Like, this is kind of it's kind of vague to me, but and I think a big way to get there is just really focusing on like what you enjoy listening like to the most. It's like, I know I've been pulled in different directions thinking, oh well, to be a more well-rounded guitarist, I need to learn this style, even though I'm not really that motivated. I feel like I need to learn a little bit in this style and that style. And I mean, I think that's good, and it definitely, builds you as a musician. But in the end, what's going to keep you coming back to the guitar is the music and the players that you love listening to. And I mean, even still, I'll be, driving around and I'll hear something on Instagram and I'm like, I screen record it and I'm like, I've got to go learn that lick and figure out, what he did there. And, if he's playing a certain chord shape, that I've never heard of, or he's using it in a country context in a way that I've never heard, it's like, yeah, so that's why it's never too late to learn the guitar, because I still get excited, to come home and play and practice, even if it's just me and the guitar and and I may not even use that lick or whatever. It's just because I think music is a real tangible, it's a spiritual thing, and it gives life in that way. I think that's kind of part of the nature of music itself. So that's why it's never too late to start. Because
Yeah,
it's something,
amen to
I
that.
mean, I'm still enjoying it, and I think, I'm gonna want my kids to do it too. I'm not gonna force them, but yeah, it's just very life giving. So
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good segue into. I'd love to know. I mean, do you have like especially knowing that you're playing in a variety of different contexts? Do you have a regimented practice time, or is it something that's more like you just get it in when you can, or what does that look like for you?
I definitely try to spend time like with the guitar every day, and I've been kind of lucky recently to be inspired almost every day to pick up the guitar. And what I usually do is I put on a song. Right now it's like just put on some kind of country blues song and just practice playing over it, or I'll pull up like a Brent Mason song, something, and try to figure out what he's doing. And I'm always like training my ear to be able to kind of learn those things quicker. And yeah, so really even now it's just learning how to play over progressions and improvise and solo, and really continuing to develop my vocabulary, so where it's more like natural. And so every day, that may mean practicing one lick over and over again and getting it as clean as I can, or coming up with my own kind of little hybrid technique, coming up with new notes, or not coming up with new notes, but combining old notes in a new way. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And today I got to practice some new songs for a gig this weekend. So I'll spend most of my time doing that, as I should.
That's awesome. So when you're playing, are you using if you don't mind me asking, are you an amp guy? Are you using like a line direct device, use pedals? What's your typical rig look like? It's probably gig dependent, but just on average, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so for the country thing, I play an all analog rig. So I've got a third power Woolly Coats little 1x12 Fender style, clean, really good amp. It's got an like a power scaling master volume knob, so you can turn it down low and still get the same sound. Yeah, I've got a pedal board with a few pedals on it, like a Greer Light Speed, and like a Flint tremolo and basic kind of stuff. With the country thing, it's definitely more about not trying to step on a lot of pedals, because I kind of like it that way. And I just like having an amp pointing at my feet. I mean, we still use in-ears at the country gig actually, because our drummer he plays at an elevation campus. So, we all knows how to use an in-ear rig, and he has like a like an MD mic, like music directing mic. He can kind of guide us through some of the songs, which is really helpful. And so for church, I use a Fractal FM9 for like everything, because it's really convenient to set presets. And on some worship songs, you'll have two different sounds. One sound will be more of a dry sound, and the other one will be a really wet sound. And so to be able to hit one switch and have multiple things change is pretty convenient. And I mean, the Fractal sounds great too. I mean, that's, I've been playing it for a while. I played it at the few times I played with Elevation Worship, I've used it. And so it's been great in every way. The sound guy seems pretty happy with it. So he's the final guy. He's the one that matters.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, if you feel so inclined, I may need your help in that, because my church actually has a Fractal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I've never made friends with it. But also I am kind of a dinosaur staring at the comet when it comes to line direct stuff, because I prefer amps.
Yeah.
I've used in-ears. I don't just love it. And,
Yeah.
I'd rather have a wedge and my amp right behind me and just kind of feel the air moving. And I mean,
Yeah.
I would, is there a guitar player out there who doesn't prefer that?
No, I mean, I think we all do,
Right.
we just all, we all we make sacrifices. And, convenience is a big thing now, because convenience is a big part of the American economy. So,
Right. So with that being said, at some point, I keep wanting, sort of hoping and praying for someone to run across who can really help me dial that in. And one of the guys that I play with at my church, his name is David, and he's been huge in that. But I've just, in terms of me being able to walk up to that, Darth Vader brain and like dial it in and make adjustments to it, I just haven't got there. But so that's interesting to know. And I love what an interesting, like, spectrum. On one hand, you've got this line direct thing that's, I mean, literally, if you've never seen one of those, there's a ton of buttons on it and it just looks like a computer basically. And then on the other hand, you just got a straight up tube amp with a flint and a real light speed, which is pretty minimalist
yeah.
by today's pedal board standards.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's pretty cool. And you feel comfortable in either one. Just out of curiosity, it's kind of a fun question. When you're at a gig and you're sound checking and you're dialing in your tone, what pickup do you find yourself always starting on?
Definitely the bridge. I think even like in a worship context, it's always like the bridge. Because I think I have like a high tolerance for like a brighter tone. And so I have to kind of realize that and fight that a lot, but definitely like the bridge. I mean, in the neck pickup will be a little bit darker. Like you're not going to have that like Steve Ray Vaughan neck, like clarity, but that's just kind of part of it. And I mean, I usually, especially with the country, I mean, I'll play on the Telly bridge most of the time, because that's where country lives.
Right. So I guess the rationale is if I can dial the bridge in and get the bridge sounding great, the neck will sound fantastic by default.
Yeah. And then, so when I use the neck, even in like worship, it's definitely more for a moment where I don't want the guitar to like be so there in your face. And so it's actually good when the neck is a little bit darker. Even in worship, I mean, most of the time I'm on the bridge, because the same kind of concepts apply. Like you want the guitar to like cut through, and so the bridge is usually most effective in that. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. I definitely start with the bridge. Definitely start there.
All right, shifting gears really quick. What would you say to somebody who's watching this and going, man, this guy's got these really cool opportunities. I wish I had opportunities like that. What would you say to them to encourage them to position themselves to be able to walk through some of the doors that you've walked through?
Yeah, I definitely would say like just establish relationships, with the people who you're playing with. And that's just, I mean, that's so important. I so underestimated the value of just networking. just networking with people, you know, in the worship circle, and just, and also like providing something for them. Don't always be the person to ask for too many favors, or seem like you're, trying to get something out of them, or seem like you're using them for their connection. Because I've known a lot of people too who, you can tell when a person wants to know you just because of the connections you may provide them. And so don't ever do that. But I mean, I would just say, like, establish healthy relationships and just be willing to do, whatever you need to do in whatever musical situation, and be open to criticism, and be open to big opportunities and small opportunities, for sure. Like, because a lot of people, they only want the big gigs, and they only want to, which, I mean, makes sense. Big gigs are fun. But
Right.
yeah, just always be humble, and just, yeah, just be a friend and provide value other than what you can play, and never take it for granted, because some of the people that you think may not be able to provide, something for you, or may not be, important or something, a lot of times those are the ones that are. And so you definitely don't want to miss that. So,
That's fantastic advice. I think it's really important for people. And what's funny is you said, it all comes down to relationships. I mean, truly, music,
yeah,
the nature of it is about relationships. I mean,
yeah,
intervals are just two notes that have some sort of relationship with one another that produces a
yeah,
sound, which is sort of an audible color,
yeah,
for that moment. And you were talking earlier about textures. And as I'm listening to you, describe how you approach music, I can tell you would be the kind of guy that if we were playing together, you'd really be listening to what everybody else is doing before you even start doing anything, so
yeah,
that
yeah,
you know what to add, or what to, sometimes not playing anything, not
yeah,
coming in on the first verse or even the first chorus, waiting to the second verse, that kind
yeah,
of thing.
for
But
sure.
I want to be grateful for moments like this, but also relationships. And I just wanted to give you, just a moment, as we're kind of wrapping this up. Just, is there anybody out there that you would like to express some gratitude towards?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely my wife. She's very encouraging. She's definitely motivating in a way that, like, kind of puts a fire under me a lot of times, which really is definitely what I need. I tend to kind of get lost in my own head a lot, and so she's always been encouraging. And yeah, I mean, I remember in the past, when I was just at Elevation, we had to be there at 6 a.m., and she would come there with me at 6 a.m. and basically stay until 2, because it was a new opportunity for me, and it was exciting, and she was excited. And so, yeah, she's a huge support. And I remember her early on too, coming to my art studio and just being there, and watching me get frustrated with what I'm making, or not making, or doing incorrectly, or whatever I thought I was doing. And so, yeah, she's super super supportive. She lets me take some days off work to go play music and make less money, because she knows that it's filling. And yeah, she's been a huge support. And so, thank you. Thank you to my wife.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you seem like an excellent human being to me.
Oh, thanks. You too, man. This has been great. Great
Yeah.
conversation.
And, you know, one of the things that it is just, has marked my life is the power of encouragement. And you said so many encouraging things, but before we go, what would you say to somebody who is, regardless of age or anything like that, who's just getting started and maybe, you know, playing guitar, and we've sort of hinted around this, but it's just like anything else. Sometimes you have to find out what you got to say no to,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of times saying no is, saying no to, one more hour scrolling through social media, you know,
Yeah.
as we are putting stuff on social media right now. So anyway, but you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
or saying no, it might be, you don't really need to watch another episode of that streaming show, or do you really need to go, waste time doing whatever? We all have those pockets in our life that are like that. But um, how would you encourage somebody before we sign off here, just to get started or keep playing guitar?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, yeah, just jump in and start learning guitar. I mean, it's to me, it's been giving to me like every day. I mean, it's inspiring. It's something new to learn that is a really good investment on your time. Like it's a really good investment when you're a beginner learning simple stuff, and it's even still a good investment for me. Just yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a creative outlet, and I do think every person is creative, being made in the image of God, which is what I believe 100%. Like there's creativity inside of you, and like playing music may be the thing that may be your avenue and maybe your means of expression. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a part of my family, for sure. And so that's what I would say. Like, you're never too old. You're never too old. You're probably actually more wise now. If you're old, you probably know how to use your time more effectively. So I would definitely jump in.
Very well said. And I wholeheartedly agree on every bit of that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Micah, thanks again. And before we sign off, I got to tell you, the folks that are watching this is the most encouraging guitar community on the face of the internet. And so every Sunday morning or Saturday morning, we've been talking about church so much, I got on Sunday morning. Every Saturday morning, we get together at 9 a.m. to have a little Chords and Coffee. Thanks for being a part of this. And if you're watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for all your comments. Micah, is there any place on the internet that they should go to see your paintings, to, even like Kyle Kelly or anything like that? You want to take a quick second to plug?
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram. I put a lot of guitar videos on there, and yeah, I put whenever we're playing shows, I'll put that on there too. So it's _Micah_craft_.
A lot of
Kind of,
underscores.
yeah. I'm creative, so I'm trying to be that everywhere.
There you go. Love it. That's awesome. And what about Kyle Kelly? Is all that stuff on the same Instagram? Is that a good place?
Yeah, it's Kyle Kelly Music. So you can find him through mine, or just search for Kyle Kelly Music, and you should be able to find him. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. Maybe we'll be near you at some point and come check us out.
That would be great. I would love to do one of these in person. Well, thanks again for joining us, and thank you guys for watching. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you next Saturday, 9 a.m. for Chords and Coffee.
Yeah. Cheers.
See you, bud.